It's checking in on how the Kenyan market fared for the day, and of course we saw a frenzy on Tuesday and Wednesday. Let's check in today. Slightly up still on the day, 0.9% to the good, 4,975 points. Just looking at some of the stocks which stood out, Equity Bank, the most heavily traded on the day. Strong demand coming through there from foreigners. KCB on the back foot today, down by 1.2%. On the currency front, just checking in on how the shilling has fared relative to the US dollar, which of course sitting at an 8-month high if you look at it versus a basket of global currencies, but versus the shilling 84.9 right now. And looking at the shilling holding on to those 6-month highs. Just let's delve into all of the drivers of the local market right now. Joining us on the line from Kenya, Samuel Gichohi, Business Development Manager at NIC Securities. Samuel, thanks for your time. Just run us through what took place on the markets today, because it seems that positive momentum is still in the markets despite what some are saying are hefty valuations.
What we are seeing right now is foreign investors are still supporting most of the blue chips. We've seen KCB, Safaricom remaining steady on foreign support. That also includes BAT and East Africa breweries. And we have also seen very heavy local trading. There's been a lot of profit taking. So what we're seeing now is most of the stocks which had receded yesterday have started to see some level of support. And that is a sign that there is a level of the profit taking is beginning to subside and investors are beginning to come in. We have seen the increase in foreign investors going to about 56.3% by the mid-market update that we sent out earlier, and that means that the foreign investors are still looking to our market, and therefore as long as we are seeing both local and foreign support coming in, then we do expect that we could start seeing some support levels being hit and probably a return to the rally again.
Let's talk about East African breweries, because it once again regains its pole position at the Nairobi Bourse as the biggest listed firm. And of course, it always has this tussle with Safaricom. There's been a lot of negative sentiment from various analysts, and I've spoken to Kenyan traders who say that the stock has been too expensive, but still holding on to that pole position once again. What are your thoughts on the stock price right now and valuations around East African?
Well, I mean, as much as I do, I agree that some of the valuations are, quite hefty and might be beginning to look rather euphoric. The fact is that we are still seeing that there is a very strong positive sentiment coming onto our market, especially now that we've successfully, completed the election issues and the political risk has subsided. And so I think that means that the blue chips are going to get, foreigners are seeing less risk out here than they're seeing on their markets, and I think that that's what's pushing the blue chips. They feel better just holding some of those huge dividend pairs like East Africa breweries rather than, going to the markets, and therefore we are still seeing some support there. Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons that we are seeing the likes of CABL and BAT still doing very well.
But if you just look at movements today, the likes of the cement makers on the back foot, Bamburi down over 6%, Ati River Mining, or ARM Cement as we now call it, down 3.6%. So both of those stocks are losing ground. What are your thoughts on valuations specifically around those companies very much geared towards infrastructure spend? We're speaking to Shelter Afrique. They've got a big drive to raise capital to fund construction. So are these two companies going to benefit, or they're a little bit too pricey?
Well, they would definitely benefit, and I'm seeing a lot of, the county governments kicking in, beginning to raise money with county bonds, which will revive that market, because we had seen that die in the past because there was a lot of defaults on municipal bonds. But I think that now there is that possibility of reviving county bonds, and they will use those for infrastructure. And I believe that that's going to actually benefit the cement companies. There'll be competition over there. So I believe they will benefit. What I think right now we are seeing is a lot of profit taking. Most of these cement companies have seen very huge growth. Most of the companies on the bourse have actually seen very high growth in the last 1 year. And I think that it's really a profit-taking issue. And once the profit-taking is done and we see, the slight corrections that come with that, then we could see support levels and begin seeing now the market begin to factor in the expected growth going forward.
Let's look at the oil marketers. I mean, Total Kenya is sitting just above 15 shillings and Kenyan sitting at 15.50. And of course, we know that they both posted, bad results. Of course, Total sitting at that loss-making position. But overall, I mean, these were companies that were doing pretty well a while back, and it seems that fortunes have turned. Would you be investing in them right now, given the fact that they have been sold off recently?
Well, for example, with Kenyan or Kobil, I think, when it hits the levels of 10 shillings, of course, we've seen a slight change in the direction of that stock. But that means that they usually come up with these profit warnings, and then the next time, once fuel prices have stabilized, they make good profits. And I think that they are very good for speculative investment. And so investors tend to get in when they feel that they've hit a low. And I think that between 9 and 10 shillings was a low, and that saw investors start coming in, which probably pushes the price up again. And I do think that seeing that our downstream sector, fuel distribution sector, is going to grow by, I think in Africa they are looking at 300% in the next 10 to 15 years. And I believe that going forward, these are investments to make and hold, and hope that as we go forward that this will reflect in gains in price. As for the energy sector, I mean, Kenyan to me is a long-term play, and I would be getting into that in the long term. Even if I saw corrections, I would be averaging down and waiting for it, because I do believe that going forward it's going to make some very good gains.